Good morning, everybody. This is the Chamber's annual State of the City event, and we are grateful that you have joined us today. We appreciate our partnership with the City of Santa Maria and appreciate our attendees who join with us each year for this event to get a better understanding of what's happening in the city, what the issues are that we're dealing with, and have some dialogue around ways that we can work together to make Santa Maria work better as a community and as a business environment. I want to acknowledge also our sponsors. As you came into the event this morning, you saw the slide that lists the investors in the Chamber program. We appreciate their support and their vote of confidence in the work that we're doing as investors in the program. On your screen, most of us, I think, by now are pretty familiar with how the Zoom platform works, but just to be sure, at the bottom of your screen there in the center, you'll see a button for Q&A. During the presentations this morning, if you have questions you would like to post to the mayor or to City Manager Stillwell, we'd encourage you to type those in there. We'll curate those, and at the end of the presentations, we'll work our way through as many of them as we can. So if you'll use that Q&A button there for that function, that will work. We are honored this morning to have our mayor, Alice Patino, with us, as well as the city manager, Jason Stillwell. They are going to walk us through what's happening in Santa Maria and share some insights into what's happened in the past year and the things they're working on moving forward. So, Madam Mayor, if you're ready, I think we're gonna let you start us off this morning, and we'll jump right into this.
Well, good morning. Hello, everyone. This is Alice Patino, your Santa Maria City Mayor. To our more than 107,000 residents and our many thousands of businesses, I say welcome. We usually see each other in person with a hearty breakfast, but not so much here in 2020. It's not lost on me that we're not physically gathered together for the State of the City address. And it shouldn't be lost on any of us, however, that although we're not in the same room, we're still one community, one vibrant community. It seems strange, and I know all of us have been through the Zoom meetings, and two of them, I actually, when you're listening to people and they have these nice soft voices that lull you to sleep and you're in a very comfortable environment, and I have to admit I fell asleep through a couple of them, and I won't mention what happened on a third meeting, but we've all had our moments. We're living through this extraordinary times. The global COVID-19 pandemic affects every single life in some way. None of us have experienced a crisis on this scale. I report to you that the state of our city in Santa Maria is still moving forward, and these are among the toughest times I have ever seen. We've heard of experiences that our parents or our grandparents have had during recessions. But having been in business, in education, in a classroom, and government for many years, I realize most things are cyclical. There are always good years and there are bad years, but we're in a very, very tough time. And in a year from now, hopefully we can look back and see how tough it was and how our reactions were to these times. Today, we will reflect on how far we've come, the current challenges we face, and all the opportunities ahead. And in my experience, when Santa Maria is challenged, we successfully work together and step up and address things head on. We certainly need to do that now. This year and next are very lean for the city government. As you well know, we had to cut $4.3 million out of our budget. And we're relying on one-time reserves to maintain programs and to avoid layoffs. We're extremely fortunate to have these reserves. Not all cities have these rainy day funds, and we started our LEAF fund back in fiscal year 2000-2001 and had $11.7 million at our peak in fiscal year 28-29. And I still wish we had that 11.7 million. The COVID-19 business closures are very tough on our sales tax revenues. The city is losing literally millions of dollars, which relies upon to provide services that we all want and need. And I don't want to minimize how important it is to support our businesses, because we'll still be here as a city, but many of our businesses will not be able to have the resiliency that we do. And you'll hear more about our financials from our city manager, Jason Stillwell. Like you, we had to close our buildings to the public and quickly pivot to continue providing services for our residents and businesses. Wearing masks, and we had to social distance. This all became a new way of life. The city joined Allen Hancock College and the Chamber of Commerce in the Protect, Respect, Wear Your Mask campaign. I'm incredibly proud of the composure, the flexibility, and the professionalism of our city employees this year. We worked hard to make the best decisions in the interest of our community. And we work for you. Day in and day out, we work for you. Your city employees are ensuring the delivery of safe roads, safe buildings, safe, clean water, public safety, and a robust leisure opportunities, and many more municipal services. The city never closed the service. We shifted to more services online, by phone, and drop-ins. We are trying new ways of getting the work done, and that in itself has been a challenge. Your city is doing everything in its power to maintain a safe workplace and minimize risks to its personnel and to our consumers. Your city granted customers immediate relief. We extended the bed tax payment deadlines for local hotels. The Santa Maria Area Transit temporarily suspended bus fares. It's essential for people to get to work, to get to the grocery store, to run out and get prescriptions, or to go to the doctor. The City of Santa Maria and the Santa Barbara Foundation partnered to offer and support grants from the Santa Barbara Better Together Fund of up to $7,500 per grant to qualifying small businesses located within the City of Santa Maria as they reopen and adapt to operating during these proper public health guidelines due to COVID-19. We all see these guidelines. Some days, or I should say some weeks, they come out differently. We are in the red zone right now. We were in the purple. I certainly hope we don't have to go back to purple. We adopted a temporary moratorium on landlords from evicting residential and commercial businesses impacted by COVID-19. That was back in April, and the state followed with its own. This helps in Santa Maria, where nearly half the population are renters. Thank you to the leadership of our city council, our city manager, department directors, and dedicated employees. And thank you also to our Santa Maria Valley Chamber of Commerce, our local businesses, and our local schools. As I said, I want to share some stories about how your city employees responded this year, and some wins. The Santa Maria Public Library staff seized the opportunity to serve our community in a new way by working with the Food Bank of Santa Barbara County and the 211 phone line. The Food Bank is the primary disaster feeding annex for Santa Barbara County. Under the guidance of the Food Bank, the public library on March 25th began participating in a call center for home delivery of food for adults 60 years or older, and those 55 years and older with a disability. Library staff in youth services, circulation, reference, and tech services immediately scheduled rotations and began taking the 211 calls. By scheduling rotations, staff maintained social distancing requirements and could have breaks from answering the phone calls and could still attend to their regular library duties. As to be expected during times of struggle, the calls ranged anywhere from emotion, from gratitude, and despair. We applaud the library staff for handling this task with such compassion and grace. and are grateful to assist the community. The library staff answered nearly 3,600 phone calls. To help the struggling businesses community, our GIS technician built an interactive map and the application form, identifying local restaurants that remain open for curbside pickup, takeout, and delivery. I received an email about a week ago telling me that I should continue the curbside pickups, that I had not allowed some businesses to continue that. And I informed the person that I have no control over that. So any of you who aren't doing the curbside, that's an alert, because people really like it and they're adapting well to that. We opened the first inclusive playground in Santa Barbara County. The Recreation and Parks Department unveiled the new playground at Presker Park in June. If you haven't been out there, you need to go and see it. It's designed with equipment that can be used by children with visual, mobile, and hearing impairments. Again, this is an example of Santa Maria seeing a need and addressing it. I was at a focus group at the Vets Memorial when a woman was telling us that her grandchild, who is in a wheelchair, doesn't have any place to go and play. And you know, unless you hear these needs that people have in the community, you're not aware of them. Every time I go to one of these meetings where I don't have to speak, I can just listen, I learn so much. But this is something that the city did, and there's a swing there that accommodates children and our youth that are in wheelchairs. I also want to thank the Kiwanis Club and Play for that great play structure we have there. The city manager's office was proactive and took an early lead in the emergency interpreting of state and federal policies. This issuing updated city policy resources for employees, including its COVID-19 action plan, Families First Coronavirus Response Act, and Flexible Spending Account for Dependent Care, the CARES Act. We also, to educate the residents and reinforce best practices about social distancing, the code enforcement officers wearing protective masks and gloves visited numerous stores to distribute bilingual flyers about health precautions. You know, we had to, and you probably heard, the city had to come in and take down the basketball hoops and the backstops from courts because people were out there playing basketball and congregating and not social distancing. We also had put those wood chips in the skate park, which we hated to do. But, you know, after trying to educate the people and saying, please keep your social distance, and they still couldn't do that. I would drive out on weekends because we knew people still weren't getting the message, to see where is this happening in the city of Santa Maria. And the parks were doing very well, but you know, people were using the laundromats on the weekend. And so we educated people where we needed to educate them. And in the city of Santa Maria, where we have a large Oaxacan population, we had to make sure that we got to them also. And it seems maybe weird to some of you, but on a phone call that I am with the entire county every single week, the county was not aware of the population we had here that did not have a language that was written. So we had to communicate with them in their way. So all of these things that the city had to do and focus in on was really important. Our code enforcement officers also helped load hundreds and hundreds of grocery bags full of food for distribution from the Elks Lodge 1538. To show respect to the staff at Marion Medical Center for its continuous efforts in treating patients in our community, on the night of April 17th, the Santa Maria Fire Department's personnel from Engine 5 and Truck 1 gave a lights and sirens display parking on Palisades Drive outside the main entrance. We kicked off a new recreational program maintaining social distancing called Fun into Fun, Fall into Fun, with multiple sessions of bubble soccer. The kids wearing these big bubbles as they ran around kicking the ball. It was entertaining to watch. The bubbles looked like the coronavirus with all the red dots. We also have yoga on paddle boards in the pool and social distance hiking at Los Flores Ranch Park. Despite the wide range cancellation of camps and activities to COVID-19, the Recreation and Parks Department found safe ways to bring recreational activities to people of all ages during the summer. One of those was drive-in bingo. 20 cars were parked outside Elwyn Muscle Senior Center with passengers waiting to hear numbers called via radio transmission from Recreation and Parks employees. Last year, we completed traffic flow improvements at the interchange of Betaravia Road and Highway 101. This is relieving the traffic congestion and minimizing delays. That's your sales tax dollars at work. Your Santa Maria Community Television, that's the public access TV, televised all 4 commencement ceremonies from Santa Maria Public High Schools. That was a nice treat for the graduating students of 2020 and for their families. I remember being on a phone conversation with the superintendents, and I talked to Dr. Garcia and say, hey, you know what? We've got our public access TV. Why don't you figure out how you're going to do graduation, and we can get that filmed, we can get it on TV. And there are many times that parents or grandparents can't make it to the graduation anyway. And that way we can get it filmed and see how this works for you. We live in a community where we can work together and we do things together. So this worked really well for our high schools. We're working with our more than 30 organizations to bring relief to the community, taking all possible steps. The food bank distributed more than 5 million pounds of groceries. The police department is hosting a trunk or treat Halloween drive-through on October 30th. That's this Friday night. And participants must remain in their vehicles and wear masks. This will be held at the Santa Maria Police Department facility located at 1111 West Betaravia Road. And, you know, this was a brainchild of one of our police officers, Monique Sandoval. And I went to it last year and the year before, and all these kids come dressed in their costumes and their parents bring them. And they get to, at that time, they could walk around and all the police officers were handing out candy. And so this year it's just going to be done a little differently, but thank you, Monique, for thinking about that. Last week, the public library launched the new bookmobile, driving it to neighborhoods to bring the library to residents. So if you can't come to us, we're going to get to you. We're so pleased with the student-run agriculture program, The Patch, and it received statewide recognition this year. The League of California Cities awarded Santa Maria its prestigious Helen Putnam Award for Excellence in City Business Relations. So congratulations to the students and our sincere appreciation to the participating businesses. This year, over 170 students participated. Looking ahead, we're asking residents what they want Santa Maria to look like in the future. We're working both as active transportation plan and a general plan update. And we're continuing to see more housing being built. So we're going to continue to complete infrastructure projects. And this is really a good time when we're talking about a general plan update, because we know we need to build more housing in the city of Santa Maria. And we're going to start with our arena housing allocations in the next year and getting that figured out. Now, the governor thinks that we need to build more than we can actually build in the city of Santa Maria, but we'll see what we can do. We have to divide it up into the county of Santa Barbara, and it's a job that on SBCAG that we're going to get done this year. We're a community, not just a city. We have progress. Our city employees are a vital part of the fabric that can reassure others and help hold this community together. One of the highlights of our community this year took place on June 4th at City Hall. And along Broadway, several hundred people gathered at City Hall, then marched peacefully to declare a stand united against racism. It was a day when all of us as Americans, no matter where we were born or when we moved to Santa Maria, came together. We listened to our neighbors, we shared our experiences. Ultimately, we united to strengthen our community. We are at our best when all people are treated equitably, with dignity and respect. People express themselves peacefully and nonviolently. This past year will forever be a reminder of our community's heart and spirit. When people ask me any place I go, what is the best asset the city of Santa Maria has, I always say it's people. And I don't even have to think about that, because I've seen it in everything we've ever done in our community when people work together. I also want to thank the voters again. Just 9 days from today marks 2 years since Measure U was approved. On November 6, 2018, 74% of Santa Marians who voted passed the Measure U enhancement and extension of local sales tax. Thank you again. And this makes a big difference to our community. Now a 1-cent general purpose sales tax, this increase maintains and enhances funding for public safety, more services for our youth, and more money to improve our quality of life. It is those Measure U sales tax funds and the city's one-time reserves that are truly providing the city with the means to maintain its footing in this slippery year. But I will leave it to the city manager to explain the financials. So I will conclude by saying, this year I've seen so many neighbors support our businesses and each other. Those relationships will move forward. And I'm now going to welcome our city manager, Jason Stillwell, who will tell us more about the city's financial condition. Jason?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and good morning, everyone. I'll assume you all just smiled and said good morning. So these chamber breakfast events just aren't the same this year. I mean, I'm stuck with an old stale donut. But that being said, this is an incredibly challenging year for everyone. The world continues its struggle with the pandemic-induced economic recession and a sputtering recovery. The country's long-term economic outlook will be greatly impacted by the decisions of policymakers and the management of this pandemic. Without further federal stimulus, the economy is at risk of sliding backwards. As your city manager, I'm here today to report that the city is holding up well. By proceeding with dedication and creativity to these unparalleled challenges, we are public servants who put service at the core of our efforts. Our community looks to us for leadership with the expectation we will be here for the people in our community today and tomorrow. These are good things happening in Santa Maria. There is proof that businesses and residents have confidence that things are going to get better. I'm here to share some community indicators about the job market, community safety, the housing market, and construction activity. I also will share with you the city's budget challenges. A look at safety indicators show a positive trend. Santa Maria continues to get safer. Over the last year, violent crime decreased by over 22%. Motor vehicle thefts have nearly doubled, however, mirroring a statewide trend. Looking at the financial indicators, let's start with the job market. Things were going great at the start of the year, like they were for most of us. The nation was enjoying record low unemployment, and the stock market was at a high, and the prospects looked good. Then along came that virus, everything changed. There are now 10.7 million fewer people with jobs than there were in February before the pandemic. The number of unemployed who have lost a permanent job or had a temporary job that has ended has soared this year from 1.9 million in February to 4.5 million in September. The doubling of those permanent job losses in such a short span of time has never happened before. The labor force participation rate for men was 67.6%, the lowest in recorded history. For women at 55.6%, it was the lowest since the late 1980s. Our unemployment rate in Santa Maria jumped from one record to another record. It was only 3.8% in September 2019, a record low. Then it soared to 16.9% in April, a record high following the lockdown orders. Santa Maria's unemployment rate continues to improve. It's down to 7.8% as of August, according to the Employment Development Department. We all have to remain vigilant about wearing masks, social distancing, washing hands, disinfecting high-touch surfaces, and staying away from large group gatherings. Businesses in town that practice the 3 W's, wearing masks, washing hands, and watching our distances from each other, have been able to reopen without increasing the spread of the virus in our community, thereby helping our people and our economy. As the mayor said, we are in the red tier according to the state system measuring the virus. The better job we do at stopping the spread of the virus, the better our chances of returning to normal. That means the businesses can hire more people and reopen. Next, the housing market appears strong. We are seeing continued price appreciation in Santa Maria. A year ago, the median home selling price was about $398,000. Now it is nearly 9% higher at $430,000. With record low mortgage rates under 3% leading to increased purchasing power, buyers are flocking to the market, but prices are skyrocketing. California's median home price is now over $700,000 for the first time, reaching nearly $707,000 in August. That's a 14.5% jump from $617,000 average price in August of last year. Across California, Santa Barbara County had the highest year-over-year gain in home price through August, soaring 41.7%, primarily due to a larger share of homes sold on the South Coast, according to the California Association of Realtors. The Central Coast posted a 16.4% median price increase for the 12 months through August. As you see in the charts, buyers are competing for homes in Santa Maria, driving up selling prices to nearly the asking price. Listings are down from 2019, as you can see on the slide provided by the Santa Maria Association of Realtors. The red line depicting active listings and the black line showing sold listings were apart all year until meeting in September. And homes are staying on the market for a shorter amount of time, now for only about 30 days on average. Shifting to city development activity, there is good news about our economy here in Santa Maria. There is activity happening across the city and more projects are in the pipeline. Activity did not slow down with the pandemic. We continue to see a lot of building permits and a lot of inspections occurring. There is steady progress for the construction of the Toyota and Honda dealerships along Bradley Road, fronting Highway 101. Look forward to them opening in 2021. The Central Coast Truck Center along Stoll Road is now under construction. This is bringing several dozen new jobs to Santa Maria. A couple of mini storage projects were built this year, and Kmart is slated to become indoor mini storage. A new dialysis center is being built at Donovan and Broadway, shooting for a February or March opening. Some multifamily projects also came to conclusion. Sierra Madre Cottages, a senior housing project, are complete with people living in them, and residences at Depot Street on North Depot is another affordable housing project completed this year. In the pipeline is Enos Ranch West on the northwest corner of College and Betteravia. This project is an extension of the Enos Ranch Shopping Center and it's been approved by the Planning Commission. This development could break ground next year. The Azure apartments are partly occupied and should be fully finished next summer. These apartments are located along Battles behind the new Toyota dealership and next to the Bill Libben Elementary School that was finished and named just this year. We continue to see very strong interest in the building of accessory dwelling units, or ADUs. This year alone, we've approved 140 of them. That's a remarkable number, but it is a much needed housing resource. I want to assure you that our building division staff are making sure that these are built to high quality standards. We have seen some corporate decisions to close businesses, such as the Roadhouse Grill and Hometown Buffet. But the good news is Golden Corral is under construction in the Crossroads Center. There's also new Mountain Mike's Pizza being built at Crossroads near Krispy Kreme. Dutch Brothers Coffee is coming to North Broadway, and Shaw's Restaurant is poised to reopen any day now. Looking ahead, we are working on long-term projects. Developers are not sitting on their hands, things are happening. We're working on the Southeast Blosser Plan, the Romer Project, the Aquistapache Project near the Fair Park, a lot of projects around town. Take a moment to think of this. The abrupt shutdown caused severe economic contractions, but we are seeing resilience in our local economy, with restaurants having a measure of confidence that they can open up in the middle of the pandemic. We are seeing the same thing with gyms. InShape is doing work on its building. Planet Fitness opened at the former Weatherby's furniture store on Enos and Broadway. The Crunch Fitness Center on the second floor of the mall is open. The mall is open as well, as the tenants in the mall are open for business. They all hung in there and have found mitigations and adaptations, seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Allen Hancock College broke ground on its new fine arts complex on September 30th at the Santa Maria campus. This two-story, $48 million facility will provide 88,000 square feet of room, including a 400-seat concert and recital venue. It'll house the college's dance, drama, film, and graphics, music, photography, and multimedia arts and communications program. And construction is expected to be completed by the fall of 2022. The ribbon cutting for the new Santa Maria Jail, built and operated by the county, will take place on December 16th. This is located at Black and Betaravia Roads. The 376-bed facility will bring more jobs to Santa Maria and keep our police officers in the area rather than driving those arrested down to Goleta. As the mayor said, we are taking multiple steps to assist the business community during the pandemic. We extended the due date for tax payments for hotels. We're plowing one-time CARES Act funds back into the community by partnering with the Santa Barbara Foundation to offer grants to qualifying small businesses. And we will approve grants up to $7,500 each. So far, a modest number of businesses have been awarded the money, so we extended the application deadline to November 2nd. Now let's take a look at the city organization. We hit the ground running in January. Just after we completed the City Council's goal-setting session in February and resumed work on the budget that was strained with projected cost increases, the challenges suddenly accelerated. March came in like a lion, but it did not go out like a lamb. We quickly ascertained that the COVID-19 pandemic changed everything. I informed the City Council, department directors, employees, represented labor groups, and the public that the pandemic makes a bad financial situation worse. I explained that we project to lose millions of dollars in revenue over the upcoming fiscal years, and we continue to watch whether Congress and the President will deliver a stimulus package to help cities. Santa Maria is not alone on this. The impact for cities nationwide is huge. The city continues to face multiple challenges, including the ongoing pandemic, increasing workloads, a loss of revenue, and fewer general fund dollars, higher tensions, and the daily challenge of carrying on our work. We remain committed to our Santa Maria community and our citywide goals. One of our organizational values is teamwork, and I want to make sure that we do not lose sight of that as we deal with numerous daily challenges. After being forced to close to the public in March due to the pandemic-induced health orders, our city departments are starting to physically reopen. Although we did continue providing services in modified ways, we never actually closed services to the public, but we did have to close our facilities according to the health order. I also appreciate the efforts made by all departments and employees to learn and accept the new policies and procedures for reopening. We are seeing that they are keeping us safe, and I'm counting on them to remain vigilant. The pandemic-induced sudden plunge in revenues and skyrocketing pension costs forced necessary service level reductions across all departments. We're using precious reserves and a hiring freeze. The city cannot afford the size of its current workforce, and we must make staffing reductions over the next 6 to 8 years. Our focus as an organization must be one of resilience. Sharply increasing CalPERS expenses will pull millions of dollars out of our budget, dollars that otherwise would be used to hire staff and provide services. By proceeding with dedication and creativity to these unparalleled challenges, we are model public servants who put service at the core of our efforts. Our community looks to us for leadership with the expectation we will be here for them today and tomorrow. The city has not had a COVID-19 spread within our workplace, and that's due to the well thought out safety plans and diligence of our employees. I appreciate everybody's efforts to remain safe, and we will get through this healthy while maintaining the vital services to the community. People are stretched. Remember, as individuals, we are not in control of everything that happens to us, but we can control our reactions. Trials in life are some of the greatest lessons. Every accomplishment starts with the decision to try. It has been an honor serving this community this year, but I have to be honest and say we are looking forward to 2021. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Jason, and Mayor. We appreciate your the update, and we do have a couple of questions and a few minutes to do that. I would encourage those of you that are viewing the program, if you still have questions that you would like to add to the Q&A feature, we'll get to as many of them as we can. Mayor, one of the first questions was for you. One of the priorities you'd been working on before COVID was the youth safety program with your task force. Can you talk a little bit about how that program has shifted, what kinds of programs you're offering for youth today, and what you hope to get back to in the near future?
Yes, we've got some programs that were like our safe and strong programs at different parks that we have. But when it comes to the youth, we, let's see, our last meeting it's been about a week ago on Monday. And so I'm asking them, what can we do as a city to help you? And their frustration was not with the city and what we provide, but with what's happening at school. And they were very, very frustrated because they felt that, they felt that they were getting an extra amount of homework. They were loaded down with homework, and a lot of it was irrelevant work that they were supposed to be doing. And it's just like they had not connected. They feel very, very disconnected from their friends, from the school. They would love to be back in school, and they felt that they didn't have any control of this. So I said, you know what? I said, I don't have any control. This is not in my jurisdiction, but I certainly can talk to the principals of the school, and I can certainly talk to the superintendent. And that's exactly what I did. I called the two principals and the superintendent, and they had heard that before, and they're really getting on that because they realized the frustration. And these kids were really frustrated in my conversations with them. So our next meeting, we're going to try to do social distancing and perhaps outside at the Maldonado Center and be outside and be social distance so that we can do more of that. I plan to have speakers speaking to the kids. Carl Nielsen, who was the minister at the Lutheran Church, the minister who took his place had been doing missionary work in China and lived in China. And I thought that would be a great perspective for the kids because we're hearing so much about China. And so the kids could really ask a lot of questions about how the government was run there and how much different it is here.
And Glenn, this is also a good example of some of the programs the city has been able to maintain during the pandemic. Although we had to close down our facilities like everyone else, we saw really thoughtful and engaged innovations, primarily in our library and our recreation and parks department, to reach out to our youth. The library has created online reading challenges, book clubs. They have kits of reading equipment or other learning equipment that they can loan out to parents to work with their children on. The Recreation and Parks Department, you saw, we're not allowed to have organized gatherings and organized team sports, but you saw we got creative with things like that bubble soccer that the mayor talked about. So there's, we're trying to adapt like everyone else and try to do more engagement with the youth in our community, make sure that they have the services from the city that they've come to expect. And as the mayor said, we do hear that, they're frustrated, they want to get together and want the library to be back open, want the Maldonado Center to be back open. And we're working to mitigate those facilities so they can reopen in accordance with the health orders. So we're hearing them and we're moving toward being able to accommodate their desires.
Great, thanks. And this could go to either one of you, but kind of following on that theme of reopening, different services in the community. What specific steps do you think businesses, local residents, and the city need to be focused on in the next couple of weeks to get us from red to orange and yellow and whatever the next color scheme will be?
Yeah, okay, I'll start. So I think it's a couple things, right? So, I mean, this is a new virus we hadn't seen before. So I think as science has better understood it over time, we're coming to see that it's really mixed social gatherings and viral load that's the real problem. And so most recently, the CDC has come out with more specific, the 3 W's that I mentioned, where, wash your hands, wear a mask, and watch your distance from other people. And those 3 actions really will help people not spread the virus and help the viral load remain low. And so I think we have seen people doing that. We've seen our businesses reopen with mitigations with the plastic shields or with keeping people apart in the stores with the markings on the floor, things like that that are relatively simple, which slows the virus spread and has had our numbers decrease. That, as the mayor said, that's allowed us to get from the purple tier, which was as locked down as our economy can be under the state order, to a red tier where it's starting to open up, but there's still a lot of constraints, and we're on a good path to the orange tier, which would allow further reopenings and more activities to occur. And of course, we're all vigilant. You see what's happening in some of the countries in Europe or on the East Coast, and the numbers can spike real quickly, we're seeing. And even in Isla Vista, which when the students came back, they lived densely down there and the virus spread there, and that really hampered our ability to continue our positive progress. So it's really just people being able to adapt and recognize this virus is going to be with us for a while, and let's try to work together to not make it easy for the virus to spread.
Well, and I can respond to that also, besides what Jason has been talking about. I went on a radio show, this has been probably a few months ago, and I had called someone that was in the know about what was going on at that time. By the time I got off the radio show, he called me back and said, okay, these things have changed. Jason and I both get on legislative calls once a week. We're doing them now twice a week. The governor comes down with his edicts into public health, and then public health is telling us what to do. So basically, I have no authority. Jason has no authority. We follow what public health tells us to do. But I think, and the science, we're learning more and more. What the science was 7 months ago, 6 months ago, is not what it is today. So we are adjusting as we go along. We also recognize that we had a lot of essential workers in the city of Santa Maria, and they were working in congregate types of environments. And all of these things together, and people living together, everyone knows we have a lot of families living in one house. So this contributes to that. So again, if we're not in large groups and we each take care of ourselves and each our own responsibility. Some of us are older than others, so then we have that responsibility of taking care of ourselves, making sure that we aren't out someplace contracting the virus. And so we know that we need to be masked, we need to wash our hands, we need to keep social distance. It's just like when we come into our city council meetings. will wear masks coming in the buildings, but we're social distance here also. So it's just using a lot of good sense. And not to say that the college kids don't have good sense, but they're really happy to get back into an environment where they're seeing their friends. About earlier this month, I was at the opening day of the Luncheon of Minerva. And these are all older women, and they were happy to be out, and they didn't have their masks on, but we were social distance, and hopefully no one got anything at that meeting. But we're seeing, I think we're seeing a lot of people maybe be a little more cautious, using good sense. We want our businesses open.
Mhm.
If I were the governor, I would be opening more things faster. When I believe that when you start opening things, people are going to be testing positive. And we know that because they'll be coming in contact more. I think what we're doing in Santa Maria, what we're doing at the hospitals, and we have to sort of react, I think, to what's going on locally. Not one size fits all. We know that in many, many instances. And I just think we have to be more responsible, each and every one of us, for ourselves.
You know, personally speaking, Alice, I'm not sure that when I was in college, I had a lot of good sense either. So maybe that's understandable. You mentioned the housing situation, Alice. So one of our attendees put a question that says, you know, with affordable housing being such a huge issue in Santa Maria, what are the qualifications for adding an ADU on your property? Maybe Jason, you know the details more on that.
Yeah, so it's the state law. So yeah, first off, it's stunning that an average price of a home in California now is over $700,000. I mean, that's going to create huge challenges for affordable housing, for housing generally. And statewide housing affordable housing in particular has been a challenge, and this just is going to make things worse. And so the state, I don't know, a year or two ago, mandated that accessory dwelling units, ADUs, be permitted easily. So it's really just a ministerial permit from the planning department, paying the fees to get a water and sewer line hooked up. Some of the ADUs are prefabricated, so it's real simple to be able to get one and just plop it on the foundation. So it's a simple process. I mean, you can have one that's as creative as you'd like it to be. It does still have to have certain setback requirements and access requirements from a right of way or from the neighbors' adjacent properties, but it's fairly simple to be able to expand ADUs. And like I said, I mean, we've already had 140 of them just recently, and I mean, we're going to have hundreds of these in town, especially in the older part of town with the larger lots where it's easy to put one back on the alley side of the property.
You know what, Glenn, let me chime in on that too, because we're going to see a lot of bills coming down from Sacramento. And some of them, to me, in my estimation, are really scary. So you have this additional housing unit you can plunk down in any backyard, which means that does away with zoning. And when you have that, you have more parking on the street. And this is one of the biggest complaints that we get, all the parking on the streets. Now, I think what's really scary is Sacramento telling us what to do in the city of Santa Maria or any other city and how we want our city to look. And we're losing that control, that local control. And Santa Maria is not a bunch of NIMBYs. We know that we need to build more housing, but we want to have control over the zoning. We want to have control over where that housing goes and what it looks like. And I think when you see that taken away from communities, that is absolutely wrong. And when they start placing more mandates on the developers, whether it's the solar power, whether it's the light bulbs or anything else that they mandate coming down from Sacramento, this makes housing more expensive. I mean, even the gas tax is making housing more expensive because lumber or anything else that has to be transported up and down the state on trucks is going to cost more money. So anytime anyone passes a tax, that costs more money. And for them in Sacramento to say, okay, we want you to build more affordable housing, well, then I'm saying, quit doing all those mandates on the communities. Let us control our community and how we want it to look.
So
Thank you.
related to that, we have a question, or maybe the reverse of housing progress. We have a question about homeless issues and impacts. The question specifically deals with the north end of town and indicates that they're having more negative interactions between homeless people and customers of their businesses. That's probably not unique to that area, but that was the specific question. Any thoughts about what a business owner should do to respond to those kind of situations?
So, yeah, I mean, the growing homeless population is a problem statewide. And again, I'd concur with the mayor. The state laws are not real conducive to us being able to address it in ways that are probably best for Santa Maria in some instances. And then of course the housing prices and lack of housing is a challenge as well. I'd say, we're fortunate to have the Good Samaritan shelter in town. They do a great job of being able to partner with us, our police department, and the community in being able to find temporary housing for people so they can have some stability and be able to have permanent housing. As far as the impact on the businesses, we have one good tool that we do have here is a letter of authority, and that a business can fill that out it's on the police department's website, and it allows the police department to be able to enforce homelessness or transient loitering and trespassing on private property. So, because normally we would need the owner's permission or need to see a crime in progress in order to go onto private property. And this is a consent by the business owner to allow us to be able to go and address these issues without having that consent every single instant. And so we've seen those have been helpful. And we do have a community service unit. So it's a dedicated unit of our police department to address these kind of issues in our community. And one new aspect we have is we've added a behavioral health specialist to that unit. So a lot of the homeless we interact with have behavioral health or mental health challenges, and just giving them a ticket or arresting them is not going to solve the issue. So we try to work to be able to address their mental health challenges and be able to find support for them. And again, it's one challenge we see there is if they're adults, and it might take multiple interactions for them to finally consent and want to be able to have the help. So it is an ongoing issue to manage.
Glenn, in the last meeting I was in on the Home for Good, we were talking about the homeless issue, and even one of our members, supervisors from South County, who said, I'm real liberal, but when you say you're going to put homeless people in housing and that there aren't any rules, like they can continue to using their drugs, they can continue using alcohol, he goes, even I don't go for that. And so again, here comes the state telling us how we can solve our problem because they think San Francisco or LA is doing a good job. Well, they're not doing a good job. Mental health is something I have said for ages that we needed to address, and neither at our state level or our federal level have they been willing to do this. We identify people, but then we don't do anything about it. And so when you're doing housing, and it's just like at this time, a lot of your hotels don't want people with mental health issues in there, and it presents a problem for them. And then they're also renting rooms to someone who maybe stops through Santa Maria. And I've heard complaints about a hotel that is very, very nice, but people stop here and say, hey, I don't want to stay there anymore. There was some sketchy looking people in there. And so we have the issue. I think it's something we need to deal with head on. I think we're doing a good job in Santa Maria. Our policemen are very well trained, but we're putting the social workers there that come in with the Home for Good with him, because we see that's a problem. Because we need to show them what the resources are. Good Sam does a great job, but if these people that are out there homeless don't want to abide by the rules of Good Sam, they're not going to be housed. Mm-hmm. They don't want to abide by rules. And so what do? You have no choice but to just leave them out on the street. So Sacramento, again, is not being very helpful.
So we're about out of time. One last quick question. Other than fixing the COVID thing, what's your biggest hope that you can report on as a win next year when we do this?
My biggest hope to report on?
Yeah, what's the win you're going to tell us about a year from now?
I'm hoping that we'll have a good plan for housing. I think housing is really important.
Mhm.
You know, over the years, Santa Maria has put a lot of money into infrastructure. We're really good there, and we continue to do that. We continue to keep our streets up, our sewers, our the water. Everything in our infrastructure is really good, and we continue to do that. I just hope that we have a good plan. I hope, and I'll be working on a good plan for housing. I think that's really important in Santa Maria. It's a demand at all levels, not just low income, but the higher income housing. People want companies to come here that provide higher paying jobs. You have to have housing for executive. You need those housing here, and so that they're not going up to the beach or they're not going south. And we want to keep them in Santa Maria. So that's going to be a challenge. Housing itself is going to be a challenge.
Great. Jason?
Yeah, and the other side of that coin is the job. So I agree with the mayor, obviously more housing is related to more jobs, and more housing helps our stability of our economy. We're seeing a lot of potentially higher, better jobs coming to Santa Maria, and that's always great. I mean, a number of jobs. But, you know, I'm real excited about AT Still coming here. It's, you know, a medical school coming to town, and they want to really be involved with the community. They're bringing in medical students who are going to serve our community as medical professionals. And then, of course, their faculty. And so it's those type of jobs and businesses coming in we're real excited about. And then kind of a plug, I think, is, you know, we're going through our general plan process. And that really is an opportunity for the community to focus on where the housing that the mayor talked about would go, what type of housing, and where the jobs that we want would go, and what type of jobs those would be. So it's a real good opportunity here over the next several months for the community to get engaged on our general plan update and be able to look forward into and have an opinion that will be able to be translated into the next decades of Santa Maria's future.
Very good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for joining with this a virtual round of applause, I think, for our mayor and the city manager. Again, appreciate your time in preparing and sharing some of the updates with us today. A couple of quick reminders for folks. The mayor and Jason both talked about the small business grants that the city is partnering with the Santa Barbara Foundation to offer. If you know of a small business in the city limits of Santa Maria that is struggling, please have them go to either the city's website or to call us here at the chamber, and we'll get them connected to that application. They are due the 1st of next week, so we need to get the people moving on those very quickly. And then the last reminder I would have today is the chambers support Santa Maria Valley and our holiday campaigns. These are designed to re-engage our community with our businesses and get people doing, you know, moving economic activity. If your business would like to be involved in that campaign, reach out to us here at the office at the chamber, and we'll help you understand how to do that. Appreciate everybody's good work. Look forward to hearing good positive results in the coming days as we progress through this pandemic and relax many of the closure requirements and get our businesses back operating and our people back to work. Hope everybody has a great day in business. We'll talk with you again soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Glenn.
Thank you, Glenn.